Guys, if you haven't heard, there is a new trailer for The Last Jedi which shows Rey being trained by Luke. There's new pieces of dialogue that talk about Snoke. It is pretty stinking crazy and actually falls in line with my current theory for who and what Snoke is. Let's talk about it. What is up, YouTube? It's Josh. This is the Den of Nerds. If you love Star Wars, subscribe to this channel. We do all sorts of videos about Star Wars over here. Oh, and shout out to Christopher Lee, who got the nerd card question correct on my latest Snoke video. And just look at this answer. Christopher, shout out to you, man. You definitely know your stuff when it comes to Star Wars. There will be another nerd card question at the end of this video. So there's this new TV spot and it shows Rey meditating while being coached by Luke Skywalker. Now, we've seen this scene before in other trailers, but this time we get more of it. There is a part where Rey, after being asked what she sees, she says the light, the darkness, and something else. Then, in a more frightened voice, she says, "It's calling to me." Then, they edit in a picture of Snoke when he's torturing her or siphoning off her force powers. And after that, they show Luke Skywalker telling Rey to resist it and then screaming at her as we see that shot again of the ground cracking behind her. This sort of recontextualizes this whole scene. And as I said in the intro, it does actually fall in line with my current Snoke theory. So I want to talk about what this means. I glean a lot from it, and I normally don't do videos for every single piece of promotional material that's dropped out there, just because honestly, all these YouTubers do that, and a lot of the time there's really not much to talk about, but this one's a little bit different. So I glean a couple of different things from this whole exchange. Number one, it makes me believe that Snoke is the thing that is calling to her. I mean, it's so obvious the way they edit this together, but it really would parallel to what happened with Ben Solo. Now, I'm going to go into that in further detail, but if this really is Snoke calling to her, it means a number of different things. I also find it very interesting that Rey talks about the light and the darkness and something else, which is meant to refer to Snoke. Now, we're going to come back to this, but he's not the light or the darkness. Very interesting. Also, what I get out of this is that Luke Skywalker might know what Snoke is. He refers to the thing that is calling her as an it. Resist it. It's also possible that Luke knows that Snoke is in the Force right now, and that anybody who reaches out into the Force would inevitably encounter this basically power or force that is Snoke. Now, all of this also coincides with a couple of images that come out of Entertainment Weekly, in which we see Rey with Kylo standing behind her in what looks to be a First Order ship. We can assume that this is the same vessel in which she will confront Snoke, and that this might be right before it happens or during that exchange. This is again where she is tortured or is having her power siphoned from her. Now, you might want to go check out the other videos I did in which I basically explain that Snoke is an ancient evil being who is likely immortal. And I also believe that he is a shaman of the wills or a fallen will himself. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about when I say that, please go check those other videos out. They do a great job of explaining it. But suffice it to say that the wills are these ancient powerful beings, much like angels, but like of the Force. So I believe, and a lot of people in the fandom believe, that Snoke could be one of these wills or angels that has sort of fallen for grace or turned on humanity and the people within the galaxy. Now, let's talk about all this craziness that comes out of this scene and how it could fall in a line with Snoke being one of those entities. First of all, if he is calling out to Rey the same way that he did with Ben Solo, this implies that when she reaches out with the Force, Snoke can sort of sense it in a way that we haven't really seen before in Star Wars. This kind of mirrors the moments where he says there has been an awakening, and when he reaches out to her to tell her to kill Kylo. Now that is at the end of The Force Awakens. It is only in the novelization, but it is considered canon. Now, she once again reached out to the Force right before those moments, which kind of imply that Snoke could be this thing that is hyper aware of when others are tapping in or reaching out to the Force. If he is a will, this would make a lot of sense, as he would be super in tune with everything going on with the Force. The will theory can also explain why Snoke would be seen as something else and not the light or the darkness. For one thing, I believe that the light and the darkness are natural parts of the Force and that they are within every person. But if Snoke is a will, he's not a natural part of the Force, especially if he is from the cosmic Force and has manifested himself into the living Force. He is not a natural person that fell to the dark side or that has embraced the light side. Therefore, he doesn't have the yellow eyes, which are from Sith who fully embrace the dark side, and it causes their body. I also find it interesting that Snoke says in the other trailer that darkness rises and the light to meet it. I get the feeling that he is referring to what is happening in the galaxy and how it could end up being good for him. Imagine a scenario in which all of this is orchestrated by Snoke to simply get the light and the dark side of the Force to be strong once again, in order for him to have some kind of sinister outcome. Luke referring to Snoke is a very interesting aspect of this trailer. A lot of the confusion for the fan base is going to be around how much does Luke know about Snoke. Luke telling Rey to resist it is very interesting, and it really felt like he knew exactly what she was experiencing in her vision. Like I said before, it's possible he knew for sure that she would encounter Snoke while meditating and wanted to see how she would handle it. This could even lead to the part where Rey tells Luke that Kylo failed him, but she will not. In my own headcanon, Snoke being a will and being this thing that Luke would know was out there is a possible further explanation as for why he took himself out of the picture. If he's hiding on Ahch-To and knows that the more he uses the Force or taps into it to try to shape the good of the galaxy, the more power he is inevitably giving this creature known as Snoke. Due to what we see in the Entertainment Weekly article and some theories surrounding the bruise that appears and disappears in Rey, due to the photographs that are shared on Entertainment Weekly, and a fun theory about the timing of Rey's visit with Snoke, which has to do with a bruise that we see in the trailers, it is pretty safe to say that Rey either is brought to Snoke by Kylo or chooses to go with Kylo in order to meet Snoke. I feel as though no matter how much Luke is going to try, that Snoke, once he gets his fingers into Rey, is going to be able to manipulate her and bring her in front of him. This is, of course, going to be a callback to where Luke goes against the wishes of Master Yoda in order to go fight Darth Vader and try to help his friends.
Luke, you must complete the training.
Rey will undoubtedly not be ready for the showdown with Snoke, and Luke will probably tell her not to go, and yet a combination of her going, probably saving a lot of lives, and the fact that she is being called so strongly by Snoke will cause her to go anyways. This all ties nicely into the theory that Snoke is a fallen will, somehow outside the natural balance of light and dark within the Force, and is corrupting and siphoning off cosmic Force power from strong people. We're super close to The Last Jedi, and I'm sure we're going to get a lot of answers. Who knows, maybe the will theory is crazy, maybe it's all wrong, but I think that this evidence supports it. But what do you guys think? This trailer to me was pretty crazy. Have you been seeing some other stuff? Was there something else you got out of the Entertainment Weekly article? Let's talk about it. We are so close to The Last Jedi. Woohoo! All right, let's check that nerd card really quickly. I want to know who was the actor that played the stormtrooper that Rey tricked with the Jedi mind trick in The Force Awakens. It's a fairly famous person, and a lot of people are aware of the cameo. Who played that stormtrooper? Answer the question in the comment section below. As I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and nerdy day. See ya!